Hey, how are you? It's Kevin Kenny, and I am so excited to introduce to you our guest today on the Build series here live in New York City. She is a former street performer who has been building quite the list of famous fans. Jay-Z, who signed her, we'll talk to her about that. GMA's Robin Roberts, who just recently had her perform in her green room over there at ABC in Times Square. And her debut album comes out this Friday. Please let's show some love to Victory.
So glad to be here.
Thank you for coming by. And I say this a lot when we have conversations like this on the stage of how exciting it is to have you here. But it's especially exciting today because this is, you know, there'll be plenty of memorable weeks throughout your music career, I'm sure. But few, very few more memorable than this week right here because this is the week of your debut album coming out.
Exactly.
And I want to just start this conversation off almost just for you to have this on video documented as almost a video diary of this moment in your life. What are the emotions? What are the, you know, the aspirations? What is going through your mind this week leading into such a big moment? Just tell me everything.
Well, it's just been an emotional roller coaster, like very, very highs, where I'm just like, last week we did, me and my band, we did Bonnaroo down in Tennessee. And I just remember getting off that stage. We were all just like up here. And then immediately after that, it's like the struggles of the road. Like we were driving for hours and we went on different buses, like Greyhound buses and different stuff like that. Really just like a struggle. But it was all worth it. And I feel like this moment is unique to this point in time because like the second album is going to be a completely different experience. The third album, you know, it's like that moment before, you know, you're not really famous, you're not really rich, but people know of you and you're talented and you're working very hard. But it's like this middle place where, you know, it's the brink before you're known, you know, and it's like right after, you know, this other stage in life where when you were, you know, like when I was like singing in the subways or in the parks, you know, it's this middle place, you know, and it's really, you're right. It should be documented and it should be like cherished because it's not going to last forever. It's just
totally.
Yeah.
It's very special, and I love that you talk about that duality, right? Of a roaring Bonnaroo crowd, high that can conjure, and then the other side of it, those Greyhound buses, you know, catching red-eye buses in the middle of the night.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it makes me think of the duality of your experience with this city, and your relationship with this city must be so fascinating.
Yeah.
Because you've really seen it from both sides now, right? Where just a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, you were busking here in New York City, you know, and now you're in these fancy studios with fans watching you do interviews the week of your album release. What is your relationship with New York City? How would you describe it?
Well, I just think I embrace the city from the perspective of an artist, and artists can find themselves in so many different circles. You can, like for me, I know just finding myself in just small circle or seemingly small circles where it's like, oh, we're just, you know, hipsters from Brooklyn or whatever, and we're, you know, at this bar singing, you know, and then the next day you're, you know, at the top floor in Roc Nation, you can see the whole city, and you know, your art is appreciated there as well, you know, or in the train station it's appreciated, and I mean maybe it won't be like this always, but just seeing New York City from this perspective, like most of my songs I wrote in Central Park, just sitting on the Great Lawn, or Sheep's Meadow to be specific, just sitting there in Sheep's Meadow, writing, you know, or so just visualizing and observing the whole city from an artist's perspective, and writing about everything I see, you know?
Yeah. Is there a side you prefer of the city, you know? Because you're talking the two sides of it.
Right.
Are there things you miss maybe about the former side that you knew so well?
Yeah, well, it's all difficult, you know? There's like this side, like I'm waking up at 3 a.m. every day, and that's not really fun. But before it's like, but maybe I would sing for 3 hours every day before. I don't necessarily sing for that many hours now, but it's, it's you give and take on both ends. Definitely the more relaxed side of, this life, like over the last several years of just living as an artist in New York without all of the glitz and glamour, definitely that was more relaxed and less pressure, and just, there was a lot less pressure in that. But I think I was able to formulate my ideas and who my character as an artist in that time period. And now I have something of value to offer people on this other level, as a signed artist, and with the debut album coming out, all these songs came from that period in time when I was like singing in the train station or singing in the park, or, so it's the best of both worlds.
Right. As you ascend throughout, not just the city, but the music industry, and you go from, those subway stations and those little hipster, dives out in Brooklyn playing shows, or sets rather, to, the top floor of Roc Nation. Have you had to make a conscious effort as an artist to not stray too far from sort of the magic and the artistry that caught the attention of a Jay-Z that was born out of those subway stations and those little dive bars?
I don't think so. I feel like my family is definitely, they're definitely keeping me grounded. Like, it doesn't matter where I am, they're the consistent thread that's, still the same. So, like, I haven't really had to, like, pull myself back, like, whoa, you're getting ahead of yourself. They're always sure to do that for me.
Awesome. I wanted to talk to you about your background and about your family, because I've heard you say something remarkable, that you consider your career to have started when you were 4 years old.
Yeah, I do. I really do, because when I was 4 years old, I got the opportunity to join this amazing performing arts organization that my parents started, called the Boys and Girls Choirs of Detroit. I'm originally from Detroit, and it was phenomenal. Like, it was really, really professional. All the boys and girls, like, they would dress up in fancy suits and fancy dresses and travel all over and perform in front of massive audiences. And I wanted to do that, and I was 4, and people were like, "You're too young. 4-year-olds can't do this." And I was like, "Yes, they can." And then I kept begging my parents, and they let me join the choir at 4 years old, and I took it really serious because it was a serious thing, and I never looked back. I never stopped taking music seriously ever since then. And so that's why I say, my career started at 4 years old.
No, I mean, it certainly did after hearing that. I was like, 4 years old, geez. Now, of course, you kind of blew up and went viral, as they say, through video of you busking. But even before that, I'm so curious, because there's so many different routes to take when trying to achieve a career in the music industry. And probably you'd have to say the hardest route would be to be a street musician and to go out there and have the courage to play your music to people that largely are not trying to hear your music, on most days. So why that route for you?
Well, for me personally, why I personally took on this route is because it was something my family did as a collective, but then me personally doing it, I really enjoyed singing my original songs for people, and that moment when you see someone appreciate your lyrics and your perspective on life and your expression, and they really, really enjoy it. I loved that, and to see people appreciate my writings like that, So I would just, like, every moment I got, just go off and sing somewhere in the park or sing somewhere in the train station, and like you were saying, that people mostly are not interested in hearing your music, but just to make them interested in hearing your music and watch them, like, become a fan, or like watch them just just fall in love with the music right then and there. That I really enjoyed that experience. And now that I'm doing, like, I've been performing shows almost every day for the last 15 days. I've just ended tour yesterday. But to see how well my live performance is received, I think that's because I've spent so many years cultivating this ability to perform live in Central Park or in, all the train stations all over New York City. So that experience, is, I wouldn't have changed it. It was a good thing to be able to train and become, a great performer. Just, wherever there's making a stage out of the subway platform. You don't have to wait for, a TV platform or, a major, huge platform. There's a platform underground that's available to everyone.
Totally. No, and it's one of those things, right? If you can win those people over,
right?
I mean, you can win anybody over. I was talking not too long ago with an artist named Passenger. I don't know if you ever listened to Passenger, but a singer-songwriter, had a big hit a couple years ago with Let Her Go.
Oh, wow.
He had a similar path of a busking over in Europe. And he was saying the same thing as you were saying, where it kind of, not only does it toughen you up, but it sort of battle tests you, where once, the music industry is probably a breeze for artists like you because you've just been through so much as like using that platform, a literal subway platform, winning over those people, those commuters, that once you get to the big stage, you're ready. And it's funny, you talk about a journey like that, and I think about somebody like Jay-Z, right, who signed you. And Jay-Z, of course, shopping for deals throughout the early 90s, doesn't really ever do get signed. At 26, he just goes into business with his buddies and does the Rockefeller Records deal independently by himself. And he too, kind of at 26, was an older MC when he first started and had been battle tested and was ready for his moment. Talk about your relationship with Jay-Z and how you first got onto his radar.
Yeah, well, I feel like our relationship is based off of our similarities. I remember when we first met him, me and my dad and my siblings, we were just sharing our stories. Like, he's like, "What's your story?" And we were telling him, our pretty much our life story. And he was like, "I see my story in your story."
Totally.
So many, places, so many things that you're talking about I resonate with because I was there. And so, that's kind of what our relationship is like. Even though our music is really different, there's quite a similarity in the sense that we're both storytellers and we're both, we're writers. We're really, we like to tell stories. But how we met, there was a video of me singing "Feeling Good" in Central Park, and there's this man. His name is James Samuel. He is he's from London, and he's Seal. Seal, the recording artist. He's Seal's younger brother, and he's like really good friends with Jay-Z. And he came across me singing in a film, and he's like, I want to meet this girl. Where is she? Who is she? She's like the next Amy Winehouse or the next Tracy Chapman. And we ended up meeting him, and we became good friends, and it was just a matter of time before he introduced us to Jay-Z.
Wow.
Yeah.
You name dropped there two amazing artists, Amy Winehouse and Tracy Chapman. I'm curious, of course, you yourself are your own artist, but are there heroes or idols or maybe even influences that you sort of take from in your music, and maybe somebody's career that you'd love to be lucky enough to have something similar to?
Well, I take from everybody. I don't think there's any one particular artist that I say, okay, well, maybe that's not true. I do remember growing up listening to Ella Fitzgerald in the car on long, car rides, and I would mimic her voice. And my dad caught me playing around one time, like trying to impersonate Ella Fitzgerald, and he's like, "Victory, that's your real voice. You need to sing like that all the time." And I was like, yikes, he's gonna make me sing like this on stage. That was when I was much younger, but then, I kind of took those words and kind of incorporated some of her vocal techniques into my sound, but other than that, most of my direct musical influences that form how I play music and, my understanding of music is really from my family and my foundation in that choir that I, said that I was a part of at 4 years old. That was really foundational in how I, perceive music and how I express music. But in terms of additional influences, like I appreciate all different types of music. And I think that's important, just being a student of every genre, every artist, seeing something that you can learn from everyone and, being humble enough to apply it. So you'll hear all different types of influences in my album.
Yeah. I want to talk about the album. We've got this beautiful cover art here for everyone to look at. And the title of the album, The Broken Instrument. I'd love to just begin there. Mm-hmm. Why name it that?
Well, it's named that because there's a song on the album called Broken Instrument, and it's a trilogy. This song is, I was writing this song, and it was just so profound that I couldn't condense it into like a conventional 3-minute, 30-second song. I kept writing it, and it came out to like 16, 17 minutes. And so what I did was I broke it into 3 sections. It's Broken Instrument, the first movement, the second movement, and the third movement. Almost like a classical piece, how, it's like, oh, that was the first movement. Then you have, all the, coming movements. And the inspiration behind the song, which is what I think you were asking, it's just sometimes, okay, so I've throughout my life, I've found, I've come across different instruments that were broken, that were thrown away. And like, for example, once in school, there was this guitar. It was in the trash. And I didn't have a guitar at the moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's a guitar in the trash. Let me take it with me. And, I literally learned so much, from that guitar because it was broken, but I was still able to like piece together chords. There was another time I found an instrument in the trash on a street corner in Brooklyn. And I was like, why do people keep doing this? Like, these things are valuable. And then I kept asking myself, like, I could see the similarities between the instruments and also myself in the sense that, not that people threw me away or I was in the trash or anything like that, but in the sense that sometimes we don't recognize our value, and sometimes other people don't recognize our value, and they assume that we don't have purpose, or maybe we don't assume we don't have a purpose anymore. And but that's not true. Like, there just needs to be there's someone in this world that knows exactly your value and exactly your worth. And that is, when you listen to the song, it talks about the maker of the instrument, because you think about how if you invented something or built something, you spent many, many hours building it, and you create it into this fine instrument. Just because it broke doesn't mean that it's not valuable anymore. That just means maybe other people all around don't understand the value, but the maker knows. Like, no, I spent a lot of hard work making that instrument, and I just could see that in my life, and also like, man, that happened to this instrument. It was rejected, it was thrown away. And so like, this whole analogy of this broken instrument, I had to write about. And so it's the story. It's from the perspective of an instrument, but the hope is that people can resonate with this instrument and know that, they're valuable, no matter how broken, no matter what. There is a purpose, and there is, you're beautiful, you're valuable, and I hope that you will know that. And this song will inspire you to believe that about yourself.
Victor, that was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, they say that it takes you your entire life to write your debut album. I'm sure you can probably attest to that now after going through this experience. If there's a song, though, to almost tease, our friends watching at home for the big release on Friday, if there's a song that you can point to on the track list for The Broken Instrument that you feel particularly took your entire life to write, what would it be? And you can take a second, 'cause it's a big question.
My entire life, yeah, I would say it's The Broken Instrument, because I was pulling memories from different parts of my life from early on, and then applying it to this instrument as if this instrument was not really me, but like this is what happened to the instrument, not to Victory, but it's really me. But everything's a metaphor. So like the opening lyric says, "However did I end up here, laying beside bottles emptied of beer?" Like I was never laying beside bottles emptied of beer, but it's just a metaphor, because you're like envisioning this actual instrument on a street corner,
Right.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah,
Everyone
really
else feels the same exact
special.
way. We've got some amazing fans here in attendance, so let's get to some questions. The first will come from right here.
Hi, Victory. How
Hi.
are you?
I'm well.
I'm thankful for your career because I learned about it through my cousin, Taylor Moore, that plays for you.
Oh, wow.
And,
Taylor, yeah.
So, in learning about it, I've just been spreading the word everywhere. I know you said that you play, you got a lot of your inspiration from Central Park and different places. And I want to know now, being in dual platforms, where do you glean and draw your inspiration from now for your future writing?
That is a good question. I was asking myself that too. But I think that my inspiration now will literally come from where I am now. And before it was the same. I was in that place, and there were always struggles or always moments where I needed hope, and I was trying to find hope, and then when I found it, I would write about it. Nothing's changed. I mean, I'm in a different place now, but there are still those moments where I'm like lost, and then I find some kind of answer or resolution. And so whenever there's a moment like that, I write about it. And I think that's always going to be the case because life is not getting easier. So, yeah, it's just a matter of shining through whatever difficulties there are in life. And then once I figure out how to get through it, I write about it. So, yeah.
Great question. Second one will come from right here. Cool.
How you doing, Victory? My
well.
name is Aaron. I'm from South Carolina. Huge fan. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome.
My question centers on, remember in 2015 hearing the song, I Know the Dream Giver, and I think about your songs for my father and Open Your Eyes. There seems to be this consistent pattern of like beauty, hope, and faith
Yeah.
in your songs. So I want you to talk more about that, like what inspires that, what keeps that going?
Yeah. Well, first off, The Dream Giver, that song was written by my sister.
Okay.
And me and my brothers and sisters, we have a band together called Infinity's Song. And you must have heard that song on our album, our collective album. And yeah, I think that's an underlying thread amongst all of us, my whole family, all of my siblings. It's just our relationship with God. We're Christians. And also relevance to life. I mean, I think all of people's music generally is relevant, but like to their particular life. But like, it's not necessarily gospel or Christian music. It's literally life experiences and how my faith in God is relevant to this life experience. And that's how I made it through this life experience, So that's a consistent theme almost on every song that I write. Or maybe it's just a fun song that has nothing to do with any, with God or anything. But typically it's it has something to do with my faith and how that applies to this situation in life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great
Yeah.
question. All right, we have time for one more. It'll come from right over here.
Hi, Victory.
Hi.
I'm Jantel.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So it obviously took a lot of hard work and dedication to get to where you are now. And I'm curious as to what the biggest obstacle that you have faced to get to where you are would be.
I would say it's the internal battle of remaining diligent. Sometimes, like, you definitely have to push yourself. It's not up to other people to push you, even though I've had, you know, like my father is here, he's been pushing me the whole time. But like, I can see the difference between living a life where it's only up to someone else to push you, and then you pushing yourself in addition to someone else pushing you as well.
Right.
Like, just especially like for example, those of us that have gone to college, you know, it's you have your teachers and everyone around you pushing you, but then you look at the life of those successful people that didn't go to college. They had to push themselves the whole way, you know, and whether it's like, you know, some of the hugest, you know, biggest entrepreneurs, like it's that struggle to be diligent on your own without someone constantly telling you, okay, this assignment is due, or this is, you know, even though I have that through my dad, but like trying to, even now, just like trying to maintain and win every day in that area of life. Okay, like I need to practice today, practice my instruments, practice, you know, writing, or, you know, consistently. That, I feel like, has been a struggle. I have not been the best, but by virtue of the fact that I see that I need to do better, I feel like I am doing better. And that's, like, I am where I am because I was aware of the fact that I needed to do better, and I tried, but at the same time, I need to do better. So, like, yeah, I need to be more diligent. So, but just that alone will help you go farther and farther and farther. Yeah, for sure.
That was awesome. All right, unfortunately, Victory, we're out of time, but
All
thank
good.
you so much again for stopping by. Again, the debut album, The Broken Instrument, right there, is out and available everywhere Friday. Victory, everyone.